One of the biggest mistakes arbitrage investors make is thinking they have a deal simply because the landlord allows short-term rentals. In reality, that's the easy part. The hard part is making sure the numbers actually work. Because if you sign a lease on a bad deal, you're stuck. Every month you're paying rent, utilities, you're hoping bookings show up, and if your projections are wrong, you could spend the next year losing money. I've analyzed quite a few arbitrage opportunities, signed multiple deals, operated Airbnbs for years, and generated over $30,000 in profit during some of my best months. And today I wanted to show you the exact process I use before signing any arbitrage deal. This is the same process I use to decide whether a property deserves further consideration or gets rejected immediately. Let's get into it. Before I analyze revenue, look at pricing, or do anything else, I verify that short-term rentals are actually allowed. This sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people skip this step. I check for city regulations, building rules, HOA restrictions, condo bylaws, everything. Because if Airbnb isn't allowed, nothing else matters. The deal is dead before it starts, and this step alone can save you countless hours. Once I know short-term rentals are permitted, I start evaluating the property. I look for answers to questions like how much is the rent, how long has it been sitting on the market, does it need renovations, is it already updated, and who's leasing it? Is it a property owner, a realtor, a property management company? These details do matter because they often influence flexibility during negotiations. This is where many beginners get trapped because they fall in love with the unit. I focus on demand. I want to know why someone would stay here. Are there sports arenas nearby, concert venues, convention centers, hospitals, universities, tourist attractions, business districts? The property itself is important, but demand is what pays the bills. This is where I spend a lot of my time. I use platforms like Airbnb to identify comparable listings, and then I look at occupancy, average daily rates, annual revenue estimates, submarket performance. I also study the top performers. I identify the top 5 to 10 listings in that area and ask myself, what are they doing differently? What makes guests choose them? Is it better furniture, better photography, better amenities, better design? And then I compare those listings to the property I'm considering. And then I ask myself, can this property realistically compete? If the answer is no, then I move on. Now this step is where emotion disappears. The numbers either work or they don't. I take the projected revenue and begin subtracting expenses. Rent, utilities, internet, hydro, gas, cleaning, maintenance, repairs, parking, any recurring costs associated with the property. Then I calculate the estimated monthly net income. My personal target is generally between $1,000 and $1,500 net profit per month, and that can change for anyone. If I can't realistically achieve that range, I usually don't move forward. And if I'm looking at less than roughly $800 per month, I walk away entirely. Now this is where many people underestimate their startup costs. Once I know a deal looks profitable, I build out a furnishing budget. Then I calculate how long it would take to recover that investment. For an example, like a 1-bedroom property, I generally like seeing my furnishing investment recovered within roughly 3 to 4 months. For a 2-bedroom property, I'm usually targeting something closer to 7 or 8 months. If the recovery period is too long, then the deal becomes less attractive. Now, this is probably the most important step. I don't ask what happens if everything goes right. I ask what happens if occupancy drops. What happens if revenue comes in lower than expected? What happens if maintenance costs increase? Can the deal still survive? Because the goal isn't finding a perfect deal, it's avoiding bad deals. So after years in the business, I've learned that saying yes to a landlord doesn't mean you have a deal. You only have a deal when the numbers support the risk. The majority of opportunities I review never make it past the analysis stage. And that's a good thing because every bad deal you avoid protects your capital, your time, and your future cash flow. Remember, a mediocre Airbnb deal can become a full-time headache. A great Airbnb deal can generate income for years. The difference is usually determined before you ever sign the lease. If you'd like me to break down the spreadsheets, ROI calculators, and analysis tools that I use to evaluate properties, let me know in the comments and I'll cover those in a future video. And if you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy watching these videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.